Good evening. Welcome to ISPI. We have the pleasure of hosting the Prime Minister, His Excellency Nikol Pashinyan of Armenia, and I would like to call Mr. Pirelli, the grandson of the founder of ISPI, Alberto Pirelli, here on stage to say some welcoming words. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to welcome the Prime Minister. I'm very happy to see you in ISPI. This is a very important occasion that lies on the long history between Armenia and Italy, a relationship that goes back to centuries ago in the medieval period, but that still works and is very sound today. Today we have programs of exchange and cooperation in many different domains, especially the economical, the cultural, and the university areas. ISPI, as you may know, is an institution that was founded 85 years ago. So it was 1935. My grandfather was the founder, and the aim of the organization was basically to analyze, study, and work on international situations. Today, the institution is one of the most important worldwide think tanks. And as a matter of fact, let me just be a little bit more precise, because as in the culture of the Pirelli family and of ISPI, normally understatement is the rule. I would like to underline that actually ISPI is ranked in one of the different important worldwide rankings, the first think tank to watch among nearly 8,000. So I'm proud to say this because on one side, personally, this was something that my grandfather thought and was convinced of. And secondly, because we need always to try to underline the positive things that happen in Italy, while we normally have the habit of underlining the negative ones. So why is ISPI a success story? Because there is a very strong capability to analyze the social political situations of all the countries, most of the countries around the world. And the analytical base is fundamental, but the analytical base is not enough, because we need to use this analytical basis in a more practical way. And ISPI has added this second area of activity through specific courses, through conferences, through risk and opportunity analysis that are used by institutions, by companies, to understand better the situation in the different parts of the world and take more appropriate decisions regarding their next move. And I think this is quite unique of ISPI, and it is a very important side of the activity. Of course, while analyzing worldwide countries, ISPI has also a second specific characteristic, which is the fact that it is the only institution in Italy that is specifically following the Russia, Caucasian, and Central Asia region, and as a matter of fact is one of the few ones in Europe. And inside the region, of course, which is a very dynamic one, is following Armenia. Armenia is a very, very interesting country, which has been undergoing very fast changes, particularly in the last few years, changes that has peaked with the Velvet Revolution, which was actually led by the Prime Minister before he was Prime Minister, because he actually was then elected in May 2018 as Prime Minister. And he took the responsibility of this very important move. And the population followed him because there was a need of change. What can I say about the Prime Minister? Of course, he will talk about his country with an open discussion and touching many, many arguments. And with the experience that he has, this will be a very, very interesting part of the discussion. What I think we should also touch, if I may, is the very important move into information technology that the country has made, becoming one of the most important world hubs for information technology, but starting with a very, very smart approach, starting from school, building know-how in students from 10 years on, and developing skills of very, very young generation on this, but of course also attracting very important multinational companies in the country and building this hub. I think this is a benchmark, something that we should look at, and we should try to understand how to match, how to cooperate on this. I would then like to tell you as well that other arguments like the relationship with Turkey, the relationship and the dispute with Azerbaijan on the Nagorno-Karabakh territory, but also the good relationship with Europe and with Italy particularly, will be part of today's this evening discussion. Finally, let me just introduce to you Eleonora Tafuro, who is representing ISPI. She is one of the leading persons inside the working group dedicated to the specific area and has all the know-how to discuss and to lead today's conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pirelli, for your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for ISPI and for me in particular to host His Excellency, Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, today. Today's event is extraordinary because so is the man that we have the opportunity to listen to. First as a journalist, then as a politician, Nikol Pashinyan has been fighting for years against political abuse, poverty, and corruption that afflict Armenia. He founded newspapers, political movements, he found new forms of political struggle, and he even served a prison term. But then he achieved something extraordinary, especially in the context of the post-Soviet area. He put an end to a regime not of a single person, but to an entire political and economic system. And of course, now Mr. Pashinyan has to live up to the very high expectations that the Armenian people placed on him to build a democratic state, to develop the economy, to act in a geopolitical context that is still very volatile and it's marked by problematic relations with Turkey, Azerbaijan, but also, as Mr. Pirelli was saying, with good relations with other international players, such as Europe and Italy in particular. Of course, these are very challenging tasks, but while today's Armenia is a small country and faces very big problems, we have to acknowledge that it's a very ancient country, bearer of a great culture. It's one of the most important countries where Christianity was born. So in this regard, I would like to quote the words of Professor Arlo Ferrari, who is the head of the ISPI program on the Caucasus, Russia, Central Asia. And he says, Armenia is the country to which I am proud to have devoted most of my academic research. I cannot but agree with the famous words of the Armenian historian Moses Khorenatsi, who, referring to its people, wrote 15 centuries ago. Although we are very limited in number and weak in strength and often subject to the power of others, our country has many works of value and worthy of being remembered in writing. My sincerest wish, continues Professor Ferrari, is that Nikol Pashinyan can really perform valuable works worthy of being remembered in writing. And to accomplish them, he will also need the support of the Armenian diaspora, represented today by numerous members of the Armenian community of Milan, whom I thank for being present in the room. With Professor Ferrari's heartfelt words, which I share 100%, I now give the floor to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan. After Mr. Pashinyan's speech, I will ask him some questions, and unfortunately, due to time constraints, we are unable to open the floor for questions from the public, although we did collect some questions through our social media, and I will try my best to ask at least some of them. Mr. Pashinyan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to be here at the Italian Institute for International Political Studies, one of the top think tanks in Italy and worldwide. I know that 2019 marks the 85th anniversary of the establishment of this institute. During its decades-long activity, combining policy-oriented research with an equally significant commitment to education, the institute has gone through a volatile period of history, bringing its contribution to policy making worldwide. So once again, thank you for the invitation to address this audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no doubt that all of you here have heard about the non-violent, peaceful Velvet Revolution that happened in Armenia in April 2018. This revolution, being inner-driven without an outer support, was the hope of the Armenian people to reject decades-long era of corruption and fraud to establish the rule of law over the rule of power. Having assumed the responsibility to lead marches of protests, I clearly realized that in the history of the Third Armenian statehood, there has never been a time of greater promise and at the same time a potential peril. I clearly realized that I had no right to let all those people down, women and men, the young and the old, who were following me. We started a march of protests walking from Armenia's second largest city, Gyumri, to capital Yerevan. With every step bringing us closer to the capital, the responsibility was rising at twice the speed. And we succeeded. The Armenian people proved that they are strong when they are mobilized and united. With the Velvet Revolution, we managed to return the authority into the hands of the people. The next thing we did was the snap parliamentary election. Last December, we had parliamentary elections that were defined by our international partners as free, fair, democratic, and competitive. This was the first parliamentary elections in our country, the official results of which were not contested in Constitutional Court, and the first parliamentary elections, the results of which were unanimously adopted by all political forces and the public at large. After the elections, I clearly realized that the expectations of the people were very high. The promise of the revolution was quite big. We needed to translate the energy and excitement generated by wide-scale mobilization into the work of building democratic institutions. No doubt that in terms of value and aspirations of the people, democracy has won a landslide victory in Armenia. Today, democracy has already become a part of our identity. However, we realize that we need to strengthen democracy institutionally in order to make it irreversible. We need to protect democracy from those who want to make a revenge and turn the clock back. With this end in view, we launched reforms aimed at ensuring the rule of law, accountable governance, protection of fundamental rights and freedom. Today, in our reforms, we put emphasis on building our institutions, and the judiciary in this regard is of primary importance. It is well known that without a truly independent judiciary and public trust toward the judicial system, it is not possible to establish a fully functioning democracy and the rule of law. But that trust has to be earned. It has been broken for a long period of time and needs efforts to be repaired. With the help of our international partner, we are on the track of earning it back. In this context, I want to emphasize the role of the European Union, which has become Armenia's primary partner in institution building and in implementing our reform agenda. The comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement between Armenia and the European Union is of a particular importance to the end. It is noteworthy that the SEPA is a reform-generating tool, and the fulfillment of its provisions entails qualitative changes in many areas of our society. Dear friends, Italy is one of the historic bridges bounding Armenia with Europe. Today, it plays an important role in expanding cooperation and strengthening political, economic, and cultural relations between Armenia and the European Union. We value our friendly relations with Italy and intend to make every effort to move them even stronger and more substantive. Close ties between our peoples go deep into the history when Armenia and the Roman Empire were neighbors, as it is depicted in 4 ancient maps on the wall of the Roman Forum. Back in the 1st century BC, Armenia was even declared a friend and ally of the Roman people. The close ties between our ancient peoples are based on shared values and the common Christian traditions, which of course are of the cornerstones of our friendship. For Armenians, it is of a great importance that the holy relics of the first Catholicos of the Armenian Apostolic Church are stored in the churches of San Giorgio Armeno of Naples and Nardo. One of the most important centers contributing to the renaissance of the Armenian culture is the modern era. In the modern era is the island of St. Lazarus in Venice, where the congregation of Mkhitariyats was founded 3 centuries ago. The congregation, which is still one of the major centers of Armenian studies, played an invaluable role in the enlightenment and cultural development of the Armenian people. It is yet another subject of common pride for us and Italians. This series can be continued indefinitely. Traditional friendship between our peoples have created strong foundation for the development of cooperation between our countries. Today, we are determined to do everything possible for further deepening our relations. Trade and economic cooperation is an important component of our relations. Italy is Armenia's second largest trade and economic partner among the European countries. In the first 9 months of this year alone, trade between the 2 countries increased by 14%. The comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement between Armenia and the European Union and Armenia's participation in the Eurasian Economic Union open up additional prospects for the development of cooperation between our 2 countries. The Armenian-Italian community is undoubtedly another factor contributing to our cooperation. We are grateful to the Italian government for taking care of the Armenian cultural heritage existing in Italy. And last but not least, we are grateful for the decision of the Italian Chamber of Deputies to recognize the Armenian genocide in April this year. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you here know that Armenia is located in a volatile region with many security risks and challenges. Unresolved conflicts which are producing ongoing tension, an arms race and hate politics are still alive in the South Caucasus. 30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, 2 out of 4 Armenian borders, those with Turkey and Azerbaijan, have remained sealed for about 3 decades. By refusing to establish diplomatic relations with Armenia and overtly assisting Azerbaijan against Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh, Turkey remains a serious security threat to Armenia and the Armenian people, who experienced the first genocide of the 20th century in Ottoman Empire and continue to face the fierce denial of truth and justice. Although the 2 other borders with our friends Georgia and Iran are open, however, in terms of economic efficiency, they can be considered only half open. Foreign policy challenges of our 2 neighbors limit the potential for external relations of our economy and undermine the possibilities for a full-scale regional cooperation. But the biggest security challenge for us is the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. It still remains unresolved, becoming a source of permanent tension and threatening to escalate into another outbreak of hostilities. Anyone interested in Nagorno-Karabakh conflict should know the background of this conflict. This conflict is not a territorial dispute, as some have tried to present it in a simplified way. It is about the right to self-determination, human rights, and the physical security of the people that live there. The roots of the conflict date back to early days of Soviet Union, when an Armenian region with 95% of Armenian population was assigned to Azerbaijan by an arbitrary decision of the Communist Party. This happened as a result of an agreement reached between Bolshevik Russia and Kemalist Turkey in early 1920s. During the Soviet era, conflict was manifested by systematic and violent discrimination against the Armenian population, who formulated their bid for self-determination in 1988, just on the eve of the demise of the Soviet Union. In response to the aspiration of the Armenian of Nagorno-Karabakh, the authority, by the way, lawful aspiration, the authorities of Soviet Azerbaijan undertook severe measures to crack down on this movement with the use of police force. Ethnic cleansing with mass atrocities against Armenians were exercised in many areas of Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan. Then, as the Soviet Empire was in the process of disintegration, Azerbaijan, like other republics, started its withdrawal from the USSR. In accordance with the Soviet constitution, if a member republic declared its intention to separate from the USSR, the autonomous regions under its jurisdiction were entitled to determine their own status, which included the secession from the republic. Making use of the Soviet constitution, Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region exercised its right to self-determination and to gain independence both from Soviet Union and Soviet Azerbaijan. Nagorno-Karabakh declared independence from Azerbaijan exactly in the same way as did Azerbaijan separating from Soviet Union. This time, Azerbaijani authorities used military force against Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh. They waged a full-scale war, threatening the very existence of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. In response to the existential threat, the Armenians, who constituted about 80% of the total population of Nagorno-Karabakh, resorted to self-defense. They succeeded in protecting their land and made Azerbaijan come to the terms with the new situation. As a result, a ceasefire agreement among Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Republic of Armenia was signed on May 12, 1994. The negotiation process on the settlement of conflict was initiated back in 1992, even before the ceasefire agreement was signed. The OSCE Minsk Group, mandated by the international community to mediate the conflict resolution, defined that there were three parties of the conflict, three parties: Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh, and Armenia. This fact was reaffirmed by many international documents of early 1990s. Indeed, for a long time, Nagorno-Karabakh participated as a party of the negotiation process. In early 1990s, even a number of meetings were held between the leaders of Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan, as well as the Minister of Defense of Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Republic of Armenia. By the way, a prominent Italian politician and diplomat, Mario Raffaelli, who rendered a lot of efforts toward normalizing the situation in the region, was the chairman of the Minsk Conference, the first international officer charged to deal with the conflict in early 1990s. Minsk group meetings, which among the others two parties to the conflict were also attended by the elected representatives of Nagorno-Karabakh, took place in Rome, in capital of Italy. Unfortunately, despite the decades-long efforts of international mediators, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict still remains unresolved. What are the reasons behind this situation? First and foremost, Azerbaijani authorities refused to negotiate with the representative of Nagorno-Karabakh. They claimed that Nagorno-Karabakh should be considered an indivisible part of Azerbaijan. But this is really a very odd position. On the one hand, Azerbaijani authorities want Nagorno-Karabakh to be a part of their territorial integrity. On the other hand, they do not want to conduct a dialogue with the representatives of Nagorno-Karabakh. Is this not a somewhat weird? What does this position mean? It means that Azerbaijani authorities, in fact, do not want to negotiate with the people of Nagorno-Karabakh just because they only want the territories but not the people. To be more precise, they want territories without the people. It means that they hope to resolve the conflict by military means, occupy the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, conduct ethnic cleansings, and get rid of both Armenians and the problem itself. Military solution is not ruled out. That was a typical statement made by President Aliyev on many occasions. Anytime we can solve this issue by military means. That was the statement made by President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev in January 2017 at the government meeting discussing the economic development of the country. We will increase our military power, and I believe that it is one of the most important factors on the negotiation. That was the statement made by President Aliyev on November 5, 2018. On another occasion, on December 17, 2018, he said that, I quote, "Our military forces and our power are the key factors among all factors for the resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict." End of quote. Indeed, there are many reasons to believe that the Azerbaijani authorities are preparing their society to a war. This is why they are inflaming anti-Armenian sentiments among their people. This is why they are spending enormous resources on armament. This is why the anti-Armenian hate speech has become actually official policy in Azerbaijan. This is why Armenophobia became a state policy in Azerbaijan. I will bring some concrete examples of that policy in action. Any foreigner who visits Nagorno-Karabakh is blacklisted by Azerbaijan. This list already includes more than 850 people. Citizens of any country who bear an Armenian surname or suspected to have Armenian ethnic origin cannot enter Azerbaijan. This was the case with a Bloomberg journalist of US citizenship, Diana Markosyan, who was banned to enter Azerbaijan in 2011. In 2014, this was the case with a Turkish orchestra musician, Refer Noyan, who had an Armenian-like surname. In 2016, it happened with an 8-year-old child, Luka Vartanyan, and in 2018, when an 80-year-old pensioner from Russia, Olga Barsega. In 2017, a woman of Armenian descent with her 4-year-old child was kept in the airport of Baku for 3 hours and then deported. This list can be continued, but probably the most notorious case happened with Arsenal, now Roma player Henrik Mkhitaryan, who missed the final match of Europe League in Baku, capital of Azerbaijan, just a few months ago. Azerbaijani authorities even banned t-shirts with Mkhitaryan's name, and people wearing them were stopped by the police on Baku streets. This policy sometimes has even ridiculous manifestations. Just a few days ago, a driver was detained in Baku merely for listening to an Armenian pop song. But the most tragic and cynical case was the one with Ramil Safarov, who murdered with an axe his Armenian classmate of a NATO seminar in Budapest. Safarov killed his Armenian classmate when classmate was asleep. And Safarov was sentenced to life imprisonment, then extradited to Azerbaijan by the Hungarian authorities, and returned to Azerbaijan. He was greeted as a national hero, pardoned by President Ilham Aliyev and released, promoted in military rank and gifted an apartment. Dear friends, notwithstanding all these circumstances, notwithstanding anti-Armenian policy of the Azerbaijani authorities, Armenia is taking concrete steps toward finding a mutually acceptable solution to the conflict. With this end in view, about 1 year ago, I publicly stated that any solution to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict must be acceptable for the people of Armenia, people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and the people of Azerbaijan. I was the first Armenian leader who voiced such a position, and I was heavily criticized in my country for such a formula which places the three parties of the conflict on an equal footing. Nevertheless, I strongly believe that this is the only way to the peaceful and lasting settlement of the conflict, because it offers a possibility for compromise, mutual respect, and balance. In order to move forward, I expected a similar statement from Azerbaijan. Should we hear such a statement from President Aliyev, this would be a real breakthrough in the negotiation process. However, the highest authorities of Azerbaijan remain on their position, which aims at a solution of the conflict acceptable only for the people of Azerbaijan. It gives me an additional reason to believe that Azerbaijan is nursing hopes to resolve the conflict by military means and doesn't want to find a solution at the negotiation table. However, the Azerbaijani authorities should understand that there is no alternative to the peace talks and the peaceful solution to the problem. First of all, it is absolutely useless to speak with Artsakh, with Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia in a language of threat. It's a path to nowhere. Azerbaijan once tried to speak the language of violence force with the people of Nagorno-Karabakh and faced serious consequences despite its huge superiority over Nagorno-Karabakh in terms of both population and the armament. Attempts to avenge this military failure will not lead to anything good. A military escalation in our region will have disastrous consequences with even a global impact. Apparently, Azerbaijan being engaged in hostilities would provide a fertile ground for those terrorists who lost ground in Syria and Iraq and now are looking for new territories to set up their operations. Geographically, Azerbaijan could become a perfect basis for them to penetrate in all four directions, to the south, to the north, to the east, and to the west. Dear friends, the Nagorno-Karabakh is a very complicated and painful issue for the peoples of the region. It is impossible to settle it without hard and consistent work, without a compromise, mutual respect, and balance. But if we took responsibility for the future of our peoples, we must make efforts to achieve real changes. I mean, government of Azerbaijan, government of Nagorno-Karabakh, and government of Armenia. We are sincere in our aspiration for peace in the region and are open for dialogue to reach a solution to the conflict which will be acceptable for people of Armenia, for people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and for people of Azerbaijan. This is our approach, and we are ready to negotiate on the basis of this new paradigm. Concluding my speech, I would like to tell you that before coming to you, I went through the website of the Institute, and one of the headlines of the discussions you had caught my eye. I read as follows: "Ink is better than blood." There was enough blood in this conflict. We need ink and firm hands to put an end to it and to bring peace to the peoples of our region. Thank you for your attention. Now I'm ready for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think if I didn't stop, the applause would go on and on. But I need to ask you all the questions that I have, and there are many, because there are many issues in your domestic and foreign policy that I would like to tackle. A first question would be a more general question about the internal challenges that Armenia has to face. You mentioned, of course, the biggest one, the frozen conflict, which is not frozen at all, as we witnessed back in 2016. So apart from the frozen conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, what are the main challenges that your government has to tackle, and what are the tools at your disposal to tackle them?
Thank you very much. I would mention only one major challenge for us and from my point of view, most important challenge. As I said, now Armenia is a democratic country, definitely. But I think that our democracy now is kind of emotional democracy, and it like a wave democratic, now we have democratic emotional wave after our non-violent peaceful revolution that took place in 2018. And now we need to make our democracy, to transfer our democracy from emotional democracy into the institutional democracy, to guarantee the sustainability of our democracy. And for us, most important challenge is to make our reform agenda, democratic reform agenda, implemented. And we need to have strong and reliable electoral system. We need to have strong and reliable and independent judiciary system. Now it can seem strange, but now we have a new country with old judiciary system, because we had revolution in our society. We had revolution in terms of political system. We had even now the economic revolution is on the way, but actually we have no major changes in our judiciary. So our main challenge is make our democracy sustainable. And I'm very glad that in this way we have support of our international partners and support of European Union, particularly Council of Europe, and of course it is very important agenda. And I mentioned economic revolution, and it is also very important for making our democracy sustainable, because I think that for sustainability of our democracy, it's very important to overcome the huge scale of poverty in our country. And for that, we have managed to fight monopolies and to open new economic opportunities for everyone. And now our main message to our people is that only tool for overcoming the poverty is economic activity. And now we have many programs to encourage our people to start economic activities. And I'm very glad that this motto is bringing concrete result. And this year we expect to have economic growth more than 6%, and it is very good news for us.
Well, you mentioned the important role that external actors play, and especially the EU, and you mentioned also the SEPA agreement. So I would like to ask you, what are the dimensions that could be improved? What is Armenia expecting from the EU? And linked to this, I would like to ask also a question from a follower on Twitter who's asking about Armenian aspirations to join the EU. Do you think that your country, similar to the neighboring Georgia, has also EU aspirations, or how do you see the relations with the EU evolving in the future?
You know that Armenia is a member of the European Economic Union, and in our agenda we have no a question of joining European Union, because we are in the process of economic integration in the Eurasian Economic Union. But in terms of democracy and institution building, and we are cooperating closely with the European Union in the framework of SEPA, which is actually a mutual agenda of making a stronger Armenian democracy in Armenia. And by the way, I would like to stress that democracy for us isn't something that was brought or was imported from anywhere to Armenia. Because it is very important to understand, despite I know that many countries or many institutions are very suspicious about the revolution in Armenia, but it is very important to state that it was totally inner-driven process, totally domestic process, and there was no one foreign force engaged in our revolution. And by the way, my belief is that is the most important reason that we have managed to make this revolution totally peaceful, totally, without any victim, without any violence. And it is very important to understand that democracy is in mind of our people. Democracy is like our national value, and it was showed within our revolution when 100,000 people stood up for democracy, for rule of law, and for fighting corruption, and for making Armenia as a real democracy. And I'm very glad that now Armenia is considered like a hope for democracy worldwide. And I would like to assure you that we will address the hopes of international community for making democracy strong again.
So let's talk about another international player, which is very important, not only in Armenia, the US. And recently, the US's government recognized the Armenian genocide, and that was a decision that, you know, it took over 30 years for the US's government to achieve. So how do you evaluate this decision, and how do you think it can impact on the regional equilibria?
Yeah, of course, it is very important decision, and but I would like to stress that in United States the recognition process was going on for many years because state senates and houses were recognizing the Armenian genocide, and if I'm not mistaken, all 49 states have recognized the Armenian genocide at the moment when House of Representatives recognized the Armenian genocide. And of course it is very important decision, and I would like to stress that the international recognition of Armenian genocide isn't only the matter of recognition of history or the issue of the historic judiciary. Yeah? It's also a matter of security and genocide prevention movement, global movement. And for us, it is a very important tool for international security and stability. And of course, I hope that this decision of House of Representatives will trigger a new wave of international recognitions worldwide of Armenian genocide, because I think it is very important for prevention of possibly future genocide in our contemporary world. And you can see what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Near East. It is we had there some expression of genocide-like actions against Yazidis. The genocide of Yazidis happened there, and we need to prevent further genocide, and for that very important to recognize the genocide that unfortunately already happened.
And in this decision in the US, we saw that the Armenian diaspora played a great role, especially some members of the diaspora, of course, the most famous being Kim Kardashian. So my question now would be, how do you evaluate the role of the diaspora worldwide, and whether you have some programs for the return of some members of this diaspora, also considering the demographic problems facing Armenia?
Yeah, great repatriation is a very important point in our government program, and we hope to be able to start such a process to bring Armenians back to Armenia. But you know, it's very important to understand that it isn't. We don't mean that all Armenians should always live in Armenia, because in contemporary world it's very important for everyone to be able to move around and go to the different countries. But for us it's very important to bring some Armenian investment to Armenia as well, and of course bring many people to bring back many our compatriots to Armenia, because now we opened new opportunities and we created new situation and atmosphere in our country. And by the way, the number of the Armenian citizens seeking asylum in the European Union decreased tremendously after our revolution, because, and it is very concrete fact that now Armenia is much more attractive for Armenians to live in. And by the way, you mentioned Kim Kardashian. Recently she visited Armenia and she said, not this time, before that, this time she came with children but unfortunately Kanye didn't visit, and she came to baptize her children in Armenian church, and I met with her and she said that he's intended to start a business and to make investment in Armenia, and I think it is very good news, and we hope to have Kim Kardashian in Armenia, not only like a TV star, but also as an investor, which will be very, very good advertisement for Armenian for making investment in Armenia.
Well, she is a businesswoman, so why not? I would like to ask also about relations with Turkey. You already mentioned that the relations remain problematic, but I would like to ask whether there are some concrete prospects for normalization in the future, and how the EU could help Armenia and Turkey achieve a normalization in their relations.
You know, I said already that unfortunately our border with Turkey is closed. But the question is, who closed this border? Actually, this border is open from Armenian side. It is closed from Turkish side. And we have very strange situation. As Armenia announced, we are ready to start diplomatic relations with Turkey without any preconditions. And the problem is that Turkey ties relation with Armenia with Armenia's relation with Azerbaijan. And it is very strange situation when the relations of two countries are connected with the relations of Armenia with the third country. And it is quite a strange situation. And as I said, Armenia is ready to start diplomatic relations with Turkey without any preconditions. And if Turkey is ready to start diplomatic relations with Armenia without any preconditions, it can bring concrete changes in our relations. But unfortunately, we have no any information that Turkey is ready to start such a relations, because Turkey has some precondition connected with Nagorno-Karabakh, and it makes the situation more complicated.
I would have a lot of questions, but I know that you have to visit La Scala tonight.
Yeah.
So I would like to conclude this talk with my last question, which is of course about Italy. You mentioned the great historical and cultural ties that unite our countries, despite the results of the Euro 2020 match a few days ago. I hope you still like us.
You shouldn't have mentioned that.
You have to know that I was rooting for Armenia, I swear. So I would like to ask about the relations between the two countries. What are the dimensions that could be strengthened? What could Italy do in particular for Armenia?
Invest in Armenia, first of all. And recently, I'm very glad that during last month, we have two Italian companies and in Armenia started activities in Armenia, one in textile, another in ceramics, yeah, and it is very important move, and we hope to attract some investment from Italy to Armenia, because it is very, I've mentioned about the European Union, because due to some troubles, economic troubles, sanctions, etc. with Russia, and Italian business could invest in Armenia to have easy access to the Russian market, to the market of European Economic Union, and of course, we hope to have more economic ties with Italy. But I should mention once again that Italy is the second biggest trade partner for Armenia in European Union. But we hope, and this year, only this year, we have 14% of growth in bilateral trade. But we hope Italy to become first trade partner, economic partner in European Union, but not in expense of other partners, but in the process of growing our economic ties and relations. And one more time, I invite Italian business and investors to invest in Armenia, to invest in New Armenia, where there is many good opportunities, new opportunities, and we will guarantee the security and success of all investment in Armenia. So welcome to Armenia.
Well, I can personally say, apart from safety of investments, also great food and very warm people are guaranteed in Armenia. And on this,
I didn't want to mention food and wine, Armenian food and wine in Italy, to be diplomatic, you know. But I'm very glad you mentioned that.
I am a testimony. You have great cognac and great food and great people above all. And on this note, I thank you once again for being our guest. And it was a real honor for us to have you here. And wish you all the best for these new Armenia's undertakings. And of course, enjoy La Scala tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.